want you to imagine this. It's 11:07. You're staring at your phone, rereading a text you sent 3 hours ago that still hasn't been answered. And your brain has already decided this is it. The relationship is over. You said something wrong. They hate you. You're probably going to lose your job, and you're going to end up alone and broke forever. If that sounds familiar, your brain assuming the absolute worst, catastrophizing, basically nothing. There's a reason that it does that, and it's not because you're dramatic. It's not because you're bad at life. It's just because your nervous system flipped into fight or flight, and a primitive survival part of your brain took over. Today, you're going to hear an episode that I first recorded in 2018. This was my very first episode, and I was introducing the lizard brain. This episode is one of the most downloaded episodes I've ever put out, and it's for a good reason. Because once you understand what this lizard brain thing is doing, keeping you stuck, keeping you small, keeping you from the life you actually want, you finally know how to stop it from running the show. Now, before we dive in, one quick thing. This episode is going to show you why your brain does this. But every nervous system has its own default move. Some of us spiral up into hypervigilance. Some of us shut down and go numb. And some of us bounce back and forth between the two. If you want to know which one is yours, I made a very quick 3-minute quiz. The link is right in the show notes. Take it now before you forget, and you'll know exactly which pattern to keep an eye on. All right, let's dive in. I actually have a great story about a time when I was absolutely paralyzed by fear and my lizard brain was running the show. So this was a few years ago. I believe it was even before we were thinking about moving to Colorado. We were out for a speaking engagement, and Dave had gotten into mountain biking. And we lived in Illinois, so there weren't actual mountains. So when we went to Colorado, Dave was like, I'm going mountain biking in the actual mountains. And I am not a mountain biker, so I decided I would join him, but I would just walk whatever trail he was biking. So we asked around and we found this really cool trail, and we pull up and it's so beautiful, and I'm so excited just to be out there. I'm going to be on my own. I got my music and my camera. I was so excited. So I run to the bathroom, obviously, and as I'm walking back down to the car, I hear Dave talking to these other mountain bikers that had just gotten back from their ride, and they're just talking, chatting about whatever. And then I heard someone say something about a rattlesnake. Immediately, my heart starts racing. I'm like, I was not prepared for rattlesnakes. I'm from Illinois, for crying out loud. I want to play it cool, so I just wander up to the group, and I said hi, and then I just casually mentioned, did I just hear someone say something about a rattlesnake? And this one guy, without thinking apparently, goes, yeah, we saw a couple. We rode up on a couple while we were riding. And I don't know what happened next. I don't know if I blacked out or if the color drained out of my face or what. But all I know is that all of these men started talking at once, backpedaling. Oh, no. You don't need to worry about it. You're just hiking. You don't have to worry about it. You're not going to see a rattlesnake. And if you do, if there is a rattlesnake, it's going to give you plenty of warning. You don't need to worry about it. Really, they're more afraid of you. I mean, on and on, these guys are trying to convince me that it's okay. They didn't convince me, but I guess I didn't want to look like a scaredy cat. I didn't want to back out. I wanted to push through my fears, right? So I decided, all right, we're going to do this. Dave and I started together. He was on his bike and he kind of biked slowly for a minute. And then we decided we were going to meet up at this picnic spot that the guys were telling us about. By the time I got there, he would probably be on his third loop or something, and he would meet me there. And so that was our plan, and off he rode. Let me explain what this trail looked like. It was a very narrow dirt path with very tall grass on either side of me, up to my knees. Very tall grass that would make it very easy for a snake to slither out or strike me without even knowing it was there. And it reminded me of this other terrifying story, this float trip that I had gone on when I was a teenager. After we were done, we had to walk back to the car and we had to carry our tubes. Well, it was the same path, narrow dirt path, tall grass on either side. And with every single step that we took, these frogs would jump across the path. Now, I do not like frogs. I used to have a true phobia, but I've pretty much worked my way to a healthy, unreasonable fear. I know they're harmless. They scare me. I don't know why. So I think this path was so similar to the jumping frogs that I was convincing myself that snakes were definitely going to be here and they were definitely going to be slithering across my path with each step that I took. And I managed to get, I don't even know how far. It wasn't too far up the path because I could still see Dave, but then I made a turn and I noticed two things. First of all, I was completely alone. There were no people anywhere to be seen. And I couldn't see the parking lot. I was alone. And then there was a big sign that was warning me about rattlesnakes. This was this area that frequently had rattlesnakes. And I froze right there. I froze and I felt tears. And that's what my body does when it thinks it's in danger. I freeze and tears come to my eyes. It's bad. Remember the frog incident? Mike ended up having to carry me and the tube and all our stuff because I literally froze, frozen and crying. As a strong, fiercely independent girl, this was not my favorite moment, but the lizard brain won. So anyway, I'm in the middle of the trail now, frozen, and I'm basically just like, I know I have to keep moving because I'm supposed to meet Dave at the picnic table. So I'm just shuffling. And at this point, I'm too afraid to go back. Remembered something. It's something that I teach all of my clients, and that was this. My lizard brain is running the show. So let me talk about this lizard brain. A human brain is divided into three parts. There's the reptilian brain, which is often called the lizard brain, the limbic brain, and the neocortex. When a fetus is developing, the very first part of the brain to develop is called the lizard brain. And that's necessary for survival. That's what makes the heart start pumping and tells the food to start digesting. After that, this second brain is the limbic brain. And sometimes it's called the mammalian brain because most mammals have this part of the brain. This part of the brain is responsible for things like feelings and memory. So if you think of a dog, like this is the dog level brain. It's got its reptilian or the lizard brain. So it's got its survival instincts and then also has this feeling and memory, right? Because dogs remember experiences, words, and people, and they for sure have feelings. So that's the second brain. Then if you're a human being or a higher evolved mammal like a monkey or a dolphin, you have this third part called the neocortex. This is where language and reasoning and things like higher level thinking come into play. And as a human, we have all three of these parts of the brain functioning. And ideally, you'd think, because we're humans and we've got these highly evolved machines in our heads, you'd think we'd spend most of our time using that neocortex, using our brains to think and problem solve and be creative. But guess where most of us are spending a lot of time? It's in our lizard brain. And the lizard brain is responsible for your survival. It's responsible for things like feeding, safety, sex. Eat food, be safe, have sex. That's it. The reptilian or the lizard brain fears anything that might be a threat to your survival. It bases this off of your body's physiological signs. Mostly, it's just about keeping the heart pumping. But when it perceives danger, it shuts everything else down and it becomes the part of your brain that is running the show. So when the lizard brain perceives danger, it shuts down the limbic brain and the neocortex. The lizard brain knows there's no time for feelings or thinking when you're in imminent danger. It shuts down bodily functions that aren't absolutely necessary to survive in that moment. So it'll shut down digestion. It shuts down your ability to think and problem solve because if you are actually in danger, you do not need to be higher level processing what's happening. You don't need to be second guessing if you are in imminent danger. You need to be following your instincts. If you're being chased by a person in a dark alley, you don't want your body busied with thinking about what's next or thinking about digestion. You want it to put everything it's got into running. Your lizard brain is what makes you run. Or it makes you fight. Or it makes you freeze. The lizard brain is responsible for that fight, flight, or freeze response. When you're faced with a dangerous situation, you all have stories of something happening and you either froze and you couldn't do anything, or you ran away, or you fought, right? The thing is, how many days of the week are you actually being chased by a scary person in a dark alley? How many days of the week are you actually in real imminent danger? Hopefully very few. In our world today, we're relatively safe in any given moment, probably not being chased by a predator. We're not having to go out and brave the elements and put ourselves in danger to get food anymore. I mean, grocery stores suck, but you're not having to hunt down your food or anything. And yet, things like going to the grocery store can trigger your lizard brain. And this is the problem in today's world. This is why so many of us are spending way too many minutes with our lizard brain running the show. It's because we are bombarded with things to be afraid of. The news is entirely designed to make us afraid, to keep us in our fear response, in our fight, flight, in our lizard brain. We're taught to fear strangers and people who are different than we are, and weird, rare diseases. Words can trigger our fight or flight reflex. Think about the last time your heart started pounding, your entire body tensed, you wanted to fight or run away or leave the house because of something someone said to you. Maybe you had a fight with your husband, and you wanted to either fight or get the hell out. Maybe your boss reprimanded you and your body started tensing and your heart started racing and you wanted to get out. Those words aren't actually threatening your survival. They are literally just words. But your body's response to those words triggers your lizard brain to take over. It doesn't know that the danger isn't real. It's just reacting to your body's physiological responses. It's just doing its job. And so your husband says something that triggers your lizard brain, and that lizard brain shuts down everything else. It shuts down your ability to reason, to think clearly, to problem solve. There's no understanding. There's no compassion happening. And those are kind of necessary when you're having an argument with your husband. Instead of thinking and reasoning and problem solving, your brain is saying run away or fight to the death, which again, really helpful if there's danger. But that thing your husband just did does not need to be dealt with by your fight or flight response. The news does not and should not be dealt with by your flight or fight response. Your thoughts aren't a real threat to your survival. They're just thoughts. Being afraid of trying something new or pushing yourself past a comfort zone to get out of a rut, those do not and should not be met with the lizard brain. Our lizard brains are so important and they do keep you alive in the event that your life is in actual danger. But what your husband said, what the news is saying, the fear of trying something and maybe failing are not dangerous. Stress is not the same thing as imminent danger, but our lizard brain doesn't know that. It feels stress and it goes to fight or flight or freeze. And the behaviors that you exhibit based on this fight or flight response are not helpful if you're not actually in danger. Running away from things that are scary means that we don't try new things. We run away from ideas. We run away from our dreams. We don't put ourselves out there. We don't have difficult conversations. We don't set boundaries, and we definitely don't follow through on those boundaries. When the lizard brain is in charge, we don't leave bad marriages. We don't stick to healthy new habits. We don't quit the job or start the job or apply for the job or write the book because your lizard brain is just designed to keep you alive and safe. It does not want anything to change. It sees change as danger, even if the change is for the better. If you have been kept alive and healthy enough by eating junk food and never exercising, but you want to change that, your lizard brain will work very hard to make sure that you don't change that. In order to stop being led by fear, you have to know how to override your lizard brain. When you feel your heart racing, when you are triggered, what do you do next? First, you got to let fear be your copilot. When I was walking with the rattlesnakes, all I could hear was, you are in grave danger. You need to turn around, run back to the car, or you need to just stand your ass right here and wait for someone to come and rescue you, because you do not need to move one more step. And so I had to have a talk with fear. Now, you know how a lot of people say, be fearless. I want to be fearless. We can't be fearless. That lizard brain isn't going anywhere. It's always going to be with you, which is a really good thing, just in case there was a rattlesnake, just in case there was a person chasing me through an alley. I need the lizard brain. It's there to protect me. Fearless isn't the answer. It's to let fear sit with you. Let it walk with you. Let it ride with you. Know that it's always going to be there, and yet it does not have to be the one in charge. So when I'm on this walk, and I realize finally I am in fight or flight right now, and this is not helpful, I had to start talking to my fear and saying, hey, listen, I appreciate what you're doing here. I understand. My heart's racing, my breathing's shallow. It feels like there's massive danger. But really, right now I'm safe. I'm just a girl walking on a trail. There are no snakes. If we see a snake, I give you full permission to take control. But for right now, you're not helping. I'm not in any danger, so you can walk with me, but you gotta walk like 10 paces back, and you have to shut up. You have to stop talking. Then each time those lizard thoughts popped up for me, and I started feeling my heartbeat faster, I just shushed her. Shh, stop. I'm not in danger. The first step is letting fear sit with you, but not letting it run the show. The second thing to override your lizard brain is to breathe. Simple as that. Just breathe. People want to skip the step. People think this isn't going to be helpful, and it is so incredibly helpful, and it is so incredibly easy. I see this with my kids all the time. Parker, let's say he's doing homework, and there's a problem that he can't figure out. His lizard shows up loud. He says things like, I'm never going to figure this out. I'm not smart enough to go to this school. Everyone's smarter than me. Everyone knows more than me. This homework's going to take me all night long. His lizard is loud, and every single time, the very first thing I say to him is, Parker, what do you need to do right now? Because my kids know that when they are getting worked up, I'm going to tell them to take 3 deep breaths. I tried to take 3 deep breaths and it didn't work. It doesn't work. Still the lizard here. Let's do it together, Parker. 3 super deep breaths. And even though he might say that still didn't work, it did. He's calmer. He's able to talk to me now. When he was freaking out, no matter what I said to him, I wasn't able to get through. He's not processing what I'm saying. He's only hearing the lizard. Think about this the next time someone comes at you in fear or anger, not just for yourself. It's also really helpful to understand other people have lizard brains constantly activating too. When someone comes at you in anger or fear, they're not hearing you. They're not processing. So it's really useless to interact with them until they calm down. And I'll talk about that more in a future episode. But here's why 3 deep breaths are necessary. It settles the nervous system. Breathing activates a part of your brain that releases chemicals and lets you chill out. And the last thing you can do to override that lizard brain, notice and narrate. Most of the fear that we're feeling is just perceived. It's not actually real. So what I talk to people about is to notice what's actually happening around them and then narrate it. On my walk, I started noticing what I could see, what I could smell, what I could hear, what I could feel, and narrating that out loud to show my lizard brain that there weren't snakes. I started saying, what's real right now is that I'm just a woman walking on a path. I can hear the buzzing grasshoppers. I hear the wind and the tall grass. I see the mountains. I'm safe. You can do that anytime. Let's say you're in an argument and your lizard brain is triggered. You can notice and then narrate that. I'm just hearing words. I'm just standing here in the kitchen. I'm not in danger. I hear the TV. I smell the coffee. Just notice what's happening and narrate, because it gets you out of the perception of what's not happening and into the reality of what is happening. Your fear stops you from doing so much. If you want to get rid of things that you don't like and start something new, whether it's start a new business, hit send on an important email, stop emotionally eating, stand up for yourself. Basically anything new, you need to understand this lizard brain and step in front of it every chance you get and move into your neocortex, where shit can actually happen, where we can make things happen, where we can change our habits and stick to our habits, where we can handle disappointment and do things that scare us. Step in front of it every chance you get.
All right, first of all, I freaking love that this episode was recorded 8 years ago. And it is still very much what I am preaching about today. If you know that your lizard brain very often hijacks your life and tries to run your show, and you want to start moving away from that, I highly recommend you sign up to get the daily recalibration. These are daily love letters that I have been writing since 2014. They are simple reminders that will help you set your intention for the day before the day has its way with you. It's free, it shows up every morning, and you can sign up through the link in the show notes, and they will start showing up tomorrow. And whether you're a longtime listener or this is our first time together, if this episode or this show has helped you, I would appreciate so much if you would rate and review this podcast. It really does help more people find it. And while we might not agree on absolutely everything, I think we can all agree that the more regulated people out there among us, the better. All right. Thank you for listening. Thanks for journeying back into time with me. I'll see you next week.